We, the people of India, are bound to the Constitution of India by birth. It is a document embodying the values of an entire nation. It enshrines our rights and privileges as Indian citizens, and it details our obligations to society. The history of our Constitution coincides with the history of our struggle for freedom. Our leaders had been demanding the rights of the Indian people from the exploitative British rulers ever since the 19th century. The rudiments of the Constitution were formed in 1928 under the leadership of Pandit Motilal Nehru. A charter of fundamental rights and duties of an Indian citizen was drawn up in the Karachi session of the Congress in 1931. In the wake of India's independence, the Constitution was drafted in detail and scrutinized minutely by some of the best legal brains of our country. And it was a difficult job. Everybody's hopes and aspirations had to be kept in mind. Every citizen had to be given a fair chance to fulfill his dreams and participate in the process of nation building. After taking the best from the constitutions of other countries, finally, on November the 26th, 1949, our Constitution was passed. And on January the 26th, 1950, it was adapted as the guiding commandment of the people of India and their government. The preamble of our Constitution reads, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November, 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution."
Constitution is not a parchment, a mere book in cold prints. It is a living and organic code of conduct for the citizens as well as for the government.
We must understand that our Constitution is both a unique and an ideal document in many respects. The Constitution spells out the kind of society that we are going to build in this country. In the preamble itself, it has been stated that we have pledged ourselves to build in this country a socialist, secular and democratic republic, and to ensure to all social, political and economic justice and equality of status and opportunity. Towards this goal, the Constitution has spelled out fundamental rights, which are otherwise known as civil liberties.
Part 3 of the Constitution spells out the fundamental rights of an Indian citizen. Right to equality, freedom, right against exploitation, freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies.
And at the same time, these fundamental rights have also been made enforceable, and the right, or rather the remedy to enforce these rights is also made fundamental in our Constitution. But our Constitution has not stopped there. It has also enjoined upon the state that it shall ensure to every citizen all economic rights which are known as the basic human economic rights, even by the United Nations declaration and resolutions. Those rights are the right to work, the right to adequate remuneration, right to shelter, right to minimum education, right to health, right to disablement, old age and unemployment allowance. In other words, rights from the cradle to the grave. The Constitution has also enjoined upon the state to ensure that there will be minimum inequalities, that there is a prevention of the concentration of wealth in the hands of few, that all the resources of the country are utilized for the benefit of all and not for the profits of few.
The Constitution as a living code of conduct is made to function through the agency of the ministries, the bureaucracy, the police, the army, and in the last resort by the courts.
We have also in our Constitution, towards this very goal of the new society that we want to build in this country, incorporated a unique article which enshrines the fundamental duties of the citizen. And some of these duties are relevant for ensuring the early realization of the goal. The fundamental duties include the right, or rather the duty to excel in whatever work we do, the duty to abide by the Constitution, the duty to abjure violence, the duty to develop scientific temper, a spirit of inquiry and reform, and a duty to ensure the unity and integrity of the country.
It is my right, for instance, to, say, walk along the footpath. It is the duty of the authorities to see that the footpath is walkable. It is my bounden right of free speech. It is also my responsibility that I do not, in the guise of free speech, defame someone or incite hatred or incite revolution. That is not freedom of speech, that is license. This is where freedoms and responsibilities, rights and duties must go hand in hand.
Rights without duties
are like men without shadows. They can exist only in fairy tales. After all, a right can never be an end in itself. It is only a means to enable that individual to develop his personality and contribute to the community of which he is an inseparable part. It is from that point of view, it is believed that rights are not rewards or decorations. They are merely instruments. And they cannot be used and exercised properly unless the corresponding duties are also performed.
People, unfortunately, know their rights, and they are very anxious that their rights should be established and upheld, and they are right. At the same time, rights must go side by side with responsibilities. And there, I fear, many of us, though we are anxious to claim our rights, we are not alive to the fact that we are also bound by our responsibilities.
In a society which had so far stressed only duties and never rights, naturally went to the other extreme, and people started talking only in terms of rights, forgetting the duties which inevitably accompany all rights.
ये हम सब का अधिकार है, प्राकृतिक अधिकार है और संवैधानिक अधिकार है कि हमें साफ हवा मिले, शुद्ध पानी मिले, साफ सड़कें मिले, अच्छी शिक्षा मिले, अच्छा पर्यावरण मिले, वन हो। ये सब हमारे जीवन के लिए जरूरी है, अस्तित्व के लिए जरूरी है। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से बहुत कम शिक्षित नागरिक, जागरूक नागरिक भारत में ऐसे हैं जो इनके लिए सक्रिय होकर कुछ करते हैं। हम अगर विदेशों का उदाहरण लें तो वहाँ पे हम पाएंगे कि लाखों नागरिकों की रैलियाँ होती हैं पर्यावरण के मुद्दों को लेकर। जंगल कट रहे हैं तो इस पर वहाँ पे हजारों लोग इकट्ठा हो जाते हैं, संघर्ष करते हैं, इसके खिलाफ आवाज़ उठाते हैं।
See, considering the level of literacy in India, except in the matter of the election, choosing the representatives of the people, there doesn't appear to be much awareness directly of the constitutional provisions and protections. Even the people who are otherwise knowledgeable make little effort to understand what is there in the Constitution and how it is helpful and useful for the citizens.
But in a democratic country, actually what is required is not mere literacy, but what is described by political thinkers like R.H.S. Crossman as political literacy. Even an illiterate person can take interest in what is happening around him, much more than a so-called educated person who may be totally indifferent to what is happening around him. So it's not mere literacy that ensures the success of democracy. What is more important is political literacy, awareness of common citizens of the political problems faced by their country.
Awareness of the rights is there, but mostly in the urban centers and in semi-urban centers, but not in the rural centers there. Rural areas, it is a sarpanch of the Gram Panchayat or the Sabhapati of the Panchayat Tehsil Samiti and the Zilla Parishad chief, wherever it is there. They would be knowing the rights as per the constitution because they go for propagating those rights during the campaigns and all that thing. But I don't think beyond that it is not very much prevalent. Knowledge is not very much prevalent in the deep rural areas and all that thing.
I used to go during my holidays and then I would try to make them aware of their opportunities and their abilities also, because sometimes the entitlements that people have are not aware, they are not aware of them, and then they have to be made aware not only in the framework of the constitution, but also on the ground, I mean in practice how things happen.
मैं समझता हूँ सबसे बड़ा रोल तो अखबारों और दूरदर्शन का ही हो सकता है उसमें, क्योंकि देश के भीतर और देश के बाहर भी जो जितने भी बड़े बड़े परिवर्तन किसी भी क्षेत्र में होते हैं उनकी जानकारी लोगों तक पहुंचाने का काम तो यही दो माध्यम करते हैं। और केवल जानकारी नहीं, उनके बारे में विश्लेषण पहुंचाने का काम, लोगों के दिमाग बनाने का काम, समाज के मस्तिष्क के निर्माण का काम, समाज की राय के निर्माण का काम यही दोनों माध्यम करते हैं। एक तरह से कहें कि चेतना के विस्तार का काम ये दोनों माध्यमों से ही संभव है। इसलिए संविधान में जो हमें अधिकार हैं उनके बारे में भी चेतना का विस्तार अगर होना है तो इन्हीं दोनों माध्यमों के द्वारा होगा।
I cannot envisage a country, and thank God we haven't gone that far. I cannot envisage a country or a democracy which can survive, say, on pre-censorship or muzzling of the press. A country, a nation which practices pre-censorship is a nation which does not for long survive, because in the ultimate analysis, it is the people who are the rulers, and it is the people who will make their voices felt. It is the people who will speak, and it is the voice of the people that shall prevail, and not the voice of politicians. The people are the nation, and the nation is the people.
कुछ अपेक्षाएं सरकार से हैं कि वो ऐसा करेगी ताकि राज्य बेहतर हो, देश बेहतर हो। कुछ अपेक्षाएं लोगों से हैं, नागरिकों से, कि वो जागरूक होंगे और अपने अपने कर्तव्यों का पालन करेंगे, तब देश बेहतर होगा, समाज बेहतर होगा और उन्हें अपने अधिकार भी मिलेंगे। और बिना अधिकारों के कर्तव्यों का पालन संभव नहीं। तो ये तीनों एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए और एक दूसरे पर निर्भर हैं। इनमें जब संतुलन बैठेगा, अर्थात एक संवेदनशील प्रशासन और जागरूक सक्रिय नागरिक, इन दोनों के बीच जब संतुलन बैठ जाता है, तब ये सारी चीज़ें, ये यथार्थ, ये आदर्श यथार्थ के करीब आ सकेंगे।
But even so, our constitution is very relevant because it gives to the common man all the freedoms which are essential if democracy is to prevail. I do not see any freedom which has escaped Dr. Ambedkar and which he has not put into this constitution. Look at it from any angle. Without our constitution, there would be chaos.
The relevance of the constitution is, it's like feeling the free air, asking a question, how is the free air is relevant, how the free environments are relevant. That's the real question is, if it is not there, you will feel suffocated. It is good, it is to the credit of our nation and the leadership and the citizens that we have not brought the situation to that pass that we feel suffocated with in the absence of liberty.
प्रासंगिकता तो बहुत है और सर्वोपरि है। मेरा निवेदन ये है कि इसकी प्रासंगिकता के सवाल को हम इस लिहाज से ना देखें कि संविधान के बारे में जानकारी आम आदमी की कितनी है या उसकी रोज़ की ज़िंदगी में संविधान कौन सा स्थान रखता है, लेकिन जो पूरा हमारा इतना बड़ा समाज है, राष्ट्र है, उसके सामाजिक व्यवहार को, जीवन को नियंत्रित करने की जो एक व्यवस्था है, लिखित कोडिफाइड व्यवस्था है, वो संविधान ही है। तो हमें उसका रोज़ के अपने जीवन में स्थान या रोल कोई ना दिखे, भूमिका ना दिखे, तो भी हमारा ये सामाजिक जीवन संभव ही नहीं होगा अगर कोई संविधान नहीं होगा। हम कैसे रहते हैं, कैसे खाते पीते हैं, कैसे काम करते हैं, कैसे एक दूसरे से व्यवहार करते हैं, इन सारी चीज़ों को नियंत्रित करने वाली व्यवस्था संविधान है, तो उसकी भूमिका तो सर्वोपरि है।
I believe and I am convinced that we in India are right in proclaiming that ours is a secular nation. It is only, unfortunately, at election times that this religious hysteria is whipped up, not because there is any difference between religions, but it is for political gains. I go to this extent: your religion is no better than mine, and mine is no worse than yours. If you can keep religion within the four corners of your home, practice your religion, if you may, perpetuate the rights of religion if you must, but do not carry your religious beliefs outside the four corners of your home.
Many times we hear the talk of the failure of our constitution and therefore a necessity of drastic change in the constitution. To my mind, there is nothing wrong with the constitution. It is the human being who is manning the constitution at various stages has really failed the constitution.
There are people who say, change the constitution, it has failed. I say no, it is not the constitution which has failed the people. It is not the people who have failed the constitution. It is our politicians who have failed both the people and the constitution.
हमारा संविधान संसार के सबसे अच्छे संविधानों में से एक माना जाता है। बहुत दूरदृष्टि से, बहुत उदात्त और बहुत ऊंचे मानवीय सिद्धांतों और भावनाओं को ध्यान में रखकर ये संविधान बनाया गया है, जिसमें व्यक्ति को और समुदायों को, समूहों को किसी भी हद तक प्रगति की संभावनाएं मिलती हैं। लेकिन वो संविधान सफल कोई भी तभी हो सकता है जब उस पर नागरिक और शासन अमल करें। केवल वो किताबों में बंद पड़ा रहे और वो संसार का श्रेष्ठतम संविधान हो तो उससे काम नहीं चलता।
The spirit behind the constitution is still alive. If that spirit had not been alive, we would not be a free nation today, which we are.
अगर हमारे नागरिक बहुत जागरूक हों, सक्रिय रूप से जागरूक हों और अपने अधिकारों को प्राप्त करने के लिए और उनको बनाए रखने के लिए लड़ने को तैयार हों, उसकी कीमत चुकाने को तैयार हों, तो अधिकारों का हनन कोई कर नहीं सकता और उससे एक अंकुश बनता है जो प्रशासन को, सरकार को नियंत्रित रखने में काम आएगा। तो एक जागरूक नागरिकता ही शायद किसी भी देश में, किसी भी लोकतंत्र में सरकार को ठीक रास्ते पर रखने का अचूक उपाय है।
Our nation has moved forward. Mere criticism for the sake of criticism is worthless. You must give the devil his due where due is due, where credit is due. Surely our industries are much better today than what they were 50 years ago, and certainly what they were then when the British were here. We have improved, we are improving, and I have no doubt that we shall continue to improve. And I believe and I hope that by the time the next century around the corner sets in, we shall be heard by the world with admiration and above all with fear. India must move ahead so as to make itself loved at home, feared and respected abroad. If you do your duty unto yourself, regardless of the consequences, you have nothing to fear, and the nation has nothing to fear either.
Collectively, we, the people, form the foundations of democracy. Individually, we are like little lamps that must go on shedding light, irrespective of whether the other lamps are burning. After all, as Gandhiji had said, if we all discharge our duties, rights will not be far to seek. If, leaving duties unperformed, we run after rights, they will escape us like will-o'-the-wisp. The more we pursue them, the farther they will fly.